Again, welcome everyone to the steering team update for Update 1 and Update 2 schools. In this webinar, we'll be talking about the tasks for December, and we'll be also answering any questions that you might have. And remember that there are two parts to these videos. So the first part is to just chat with you as steering team members, and then the second part I'll actually do a presentation that you can share with your council as the prompt for your council discussion this month. You don't have to use these videos as a reminder. We'll also provide you with the slides on the online systems if you would like to do the presentation yourself. But if you would like to save some prep time and just use our video, that's possible as well. So, okay, so let's just kind of have a chat with the steering team members to begin with. A couple things that we wanted to make you aware of. One is that we wanted to make sure that everyone was aware of this grant opportunity that is a non-competitive grant opportunity. That means that every school district in the state is going to get this funding. So it is the Lilly Counseling Initiative, and we're just really impressed with the amount of funding that Lilly is putting into this initiative to improve school counseling across our state, and especially impressed because it's not competitive. Every district in the state is going to get this money, and also there are virtually no hoops that schools have to jump through. Lilly's basically creating a think tank across the state, and they're putting funding into every district so that every district can bring people to the table to talk about school counseling and cover any expenses that might occur. And also districts can use that money to explore school counseling programs, model school counseling programs across the country, or hire a technical assistant. So at any rate, so we just want to make sure that you were aware of this, and if you've not talked with your district folks about this funding, we would suggest that you do that. So the funding's coming in two phases. The first phase is the planning grant, and that's the one that's not competitive. So every district will have this money to basically have a think tank in their district about school counseling between January 20th and May 19th. And I've included there for you the reason why Lilly's doing this. They want to increase the number of students in Indiana who are emotionally healthy, who realize academic success, graduate from high school, obtain post-secondary credentials, and are able to work in the global economy. So you can see that's very, very close to our SI2 objectives as well. So these are quite large grants, in my opinion, from what we're used to in schools. So this non-competitive grant is $30,000 for districts with fewer than 5,000 students, and $50,000 for districts with more than 5,000 students. So quite a chunk of change that's coming into every district. The grant deadline for this funding is December 15th, so that's coming up around the corner. And we just wanted to make sure that this is on everybody's radar. You know, I'd hate it for one of our SI2 schools to miss this funding that's not competitive. I mean, all you have to do is apply. So, okay. And then I also wanted to just make sure that you are aware that our roots are in school counseling. We started out with the goal of 20 years ago with the goal of improving school counseling. We developed a process called redesigning school counseling, and then we branched out into whole school improvement. Our school counseling model is a proven model. Independent research has shown that schools that implement our school counseling process end up with a higher percentage of students passing both math and language arts on state tests. So the way we do school counseling is very much aligned with academic achievement. That's also why we wanted to let you know about it, this grant. So basically, just kind of a heads up of how we do school counseling. When we're working with schools in school counseling, we start out with achievement. And we take the achievement goals out of your school improvement plan. So if we were to help your school with this counseling initiative, the first thing we'd do is we'd say, okay, let's dig out the achievement goals in the school improvement plan that you developed with SI2. And then we ask everybody to think about what choices do kids have to make in order for you to be able to achieve the goals that are in your school improvement plan. So for example, if we want kids to succeed in an AP course, one of the choices that they have to make to begin with is to enroll in an AP course or ask questions when they're confused in an AP course. So we tease out all the choices that kids have to make, and then we design a guidance and counseling program that's going to help kids make those choices. So I think you can see why our school counseling initiative impacts achievement, because it is all focused on helping kids make the choices they need to make to be successful at school. So, and then again, how this ties into SI2 is, remember that in SI2 we have our 7 elements of high achieving schools, and one of them is student guidance. So you have studied student guidance, you've looked at root cause reports around what students and parents and teachers and community members have said about student guidance. So this is really a component of SI2. And because of that, we wanted to make sure that you didn't miss this funding or the opportunity to just get people together second semester to talk about school counseling and to have some funding, some significant funding to do that. So, so this, it really aligns well with SI2. So we will be providing technical assistance, and I'll show you how your school can sign up for that if you want to. So in the second semester, we'll be helping school counselors and schools and communities identify their school, their student guidance and counseling needs, establish school counseling goals, research model school counseling programs and delivery systems, identifying things that they'd like to put in place in their school, creating a 4-year implementation plan, and then finally next May, we'll help the schools that we serve create a funding proposal for the next phase of Lily's initiative, which is the implementation phase. That phase has a ton of money coming with it as well. It is a competitive grant though, so not all schools will get money to implement the expensive things in their plans. So if a school has fewer than 5,000 students, it's $100,000 that will go into the school. If a school has more than 5,000 students, the district will get, I'm sorry, if the district has more than 5,000 students, the district will get $100 per student. So some big, some big change there. Lily has put, I think if I remember right, it's $23 million into the implementation phase. So, there's going to be several of these implementation grants. So again, if you're wanting to design an innovative school counseling program that will really reach every student, will increase student motivation because students will be working with an understanding of their career plans and post-secondary education plans, and how, beginning in kindergarten, everything's leading to their wonderful futures. If you're interested in doing that, we'd suggest that you check this out and check out our technical assistance. The technical assistance that we provide will be very much like what we're doing with SI2. So there will be a steering team that we set up. We'll go through webinars. We'll have schools submit different parts of their plan to us. We'll review them, provide feedback, and provide on-call support. So so that's the technical assistance that we'll be providing second semester. And one other overlap with SI2 is, if we are working with one of your schools, we're not going to redo the vision step or the achievement goals step. We're going to ask your school counselors to use the vision from SI2, use the achievement goals in your school improvement plan, and then we'll take it from there and we'll discuss how to design a school counseling program that's going to coordinate with your SI2. So, okay, so we just wanted to make you aware of that. If you're interested, our deadline for signing up is December 8th, and you'd go to asainstitute.org/Lily, and then down where that arrow is pointing is the enrollment form for SI2. There is a enrollment fee. It's $550, which covers all of those deliverables, and the grant funding, the $30,000 or the $50,000, you can take the $550 out of that. So, okay, there's also some videos over here if you want to learn more about what we're doing with that or want to share this with your school counselors. Feel free to do that. Okay, so just wanted to tell you about that because, man, does that ever align with SI2? And we think that these two initiatives could go really well hand in hand. So, okay. A couple things we need to bring to your attention in terms of the achievement data in the online system. So a couple of data notes. We have now updated the iStep Standards Mastery data charts, and we've added data charts for science and social studies. So those charts will mirror the reports that you've received from SI or from DOE, and you'll just be able to add that data in. Okay, and then also something that's a little peculiar. DOE is reporting the drill down data for iStep differently this year. So for schools this would only apply for schools that have grades 7, 8, and 10. So if you're a junior, senior high school or middle high school and you've got 7, 8, and 10, this would apply to you. When you go to the drill down reports, you're going to see iStep data for a student group like Hispanic students. When you see that, that is only going to include grades 7 and 8. And then there will be another line that shows the percent pass for 10th grade. For some reason, DOE, when they released the public data this year, they didn't aggregate together grades 7, 8, and 10. They separated them. And because we drop in data from DOE, then we're forced to do that. So that's what you've got. So we just wanted to give you a heads up. If you've got 7, 8, and 10, this only applies in the drill down data. And you'll see that there's 2 lines for the percent passing iStep. One says 10th grade and the other just says student group. Okay, and then we're still looking for some data from DOE that we don't have yet. One thing you will not see in your system at this point is drill down data for students groups having fewer than 10 students who passed in the student group or who met the benchmark in the student group. And the reason we're not posting that yet is because we don't think that that's been reported accurately on DOE's website. When we do the math, it looks like that DOE is withholding data. You know, usually if there's 10 in a student group or fewer, we don't publish the data for confidentiality purposes. So that would be, you know, when we're looking at percent pass, that would be when the denominator is less than 10. We don't report the data. But it looks like DOE has said when the numerator is less than 10, the top number, or the percent that passed is less than 10, then they're withholding the data. So we'll talk to DOE before January when you're actually looking at this goals data, but when you see data that's not available and you're thinking, why aren't I seeing data there? There's 105 students in that student group and it says not available. That's why we think that there's some kind of glitch in their calculations. Okay, graduation data we still don't have, and end of course assessment data we don't have as well. So as soon as we get those things, we'll post them, and we'll talk with DOE. Our hope is that we can get you all that data by June. So okay, then so let's then talk a little bit about this month's tasks, and then if you have any questions or comments, please be typing them in, and we'll take a pause after this before we go to the council prompt and see what you'd like to talk about. So in this month's tasks, we are, and right now we're prepping for the council discussion 2. So it's the second discussion. And what we're doing in December is we're talking with your council about the degree to which each of your interventions has been implemented. So there's 3 questions that we'll be looking at. So for each intervention, we're going to ask your council, is the intervention being fully implemented, and how do we know? So the how do we know on that part is probably going to be through observations. You know, people will say, well, I've seen the 3rd grade teachers, you know, teaching that content, or we've heard announcements for this extra help program on the PA. So are they being fully implemented, and how do you know? When you start to ask that question, if something has fallen off your radar, just kind of, you know, forgot about it, it'll come up here. You'll say, oh my gosh, we forgot to do that one. So, and then you can decide what you want to do about it. Okay, and then the second question is the intervention having the desired impact on the root cause? So when you look at the interventions this month, right after each intervention will show you which root causes you thought you designed that intervention to address. And so we're just going to kind of help you think here, or give you time to think about, is that root cause, or is that intervention impacting the root cause? Do I see anything that would make me think that? Is this just a hunch? Do I want to do a quick check, with data to see if my hunch is backed up? So we're wanting to see, are the root causes changing because of the interventions? Are they getting better or going away? Remember, root causes are the things that are interfering with learning. And then finally, for each intervention, what in-flight adjustments are needed, if any? Hopefully all of your interventions are, gotten off the ground smoothly, and they're all being implemented, and the professional development that you put in place has worked, and teachers know what they're doing. But a lot of times that's not the case. The professional development was not in-depth enough or ongoing enough to really help teachers know what they were doing. Or maybe there's some confusion in some area. So we just want to take a time to look at each intervention and just say, how are things going, and is it implemented? Is it having an impact yet? Do we see any impact? And then what in-flight adjustments are needed. One other thing on number 2, later in the spring we will actually have follow-up data. We don't have that follow-up data now, so we're basing this discussion on what can we see, what can we observe, and then later we'll pull together some data for your root causes. Okay, so that's that. The student body discussion will be the same thing, but just in kind of a condensed version. So you'll have your kids break into small groups again, and then either as a discussion or a writing prompt, you'll introduce students to just 3 or 5 of the school's interventions for the year. And then for each of the interventions, we're going to ask the kids, what have you observed that makes you think that this intervention is in place? And what could we do to make the intervention be better? So we'll get the kids involved in looking for the interventions and then also critiquing the interventions. Our experience has been that kids kind of like that. They kind of like being part of the evaluation. So yeah, so kind of think about that. And then the red note at the top, it would be extremely helpful to have the student body discussion before the council discussion, so that as you're having that council discussion, you can say, well, the kids said, or the kids pointed out that they saw this, or we're seeing it, but the kids are not seeing it, or so that will help, I think, make that discussion a little bit richer. Okay, and then finally, looking ahead, second semester we will start updating your school improvement plan to create your 2017-18 school improvement plan. In January we'll update your goals, in February we'll update root causes, and then interventions, and then preparation. So first semester has been all about getting those interventions off and running, and then second semester we'll start writing next year's school improvement plan. One other thing, today was the day that your 16-17 school improvement plan was due to DOE, and we know that you've all uploaded that, so there's no issues there. But it just wanted to let you know that we also sent a DOE a list of all of your schools, saying that you had met all the requirements for school improvement planning in PL 221, and citing the code that explains that because you've worked with us and we've approved your plan, that there is no second read from DOE. And then we received a very nice email back from DOE saying perfect, and thank you very much. So, so that's all been done, and you're all covered for this year. Okay, before we go on then, let's just stop, and if you have a question, let's type it in now or raise your hand and we'll unmute you or whatever. Tina, what questions do we need to talk about?
This is a satisfied group. I see no questions. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so we'll give you one other chance to ask questions at the end. I'm going to now be talking to your counsel so that you can show this video, this portion of the video to your counsel as your discussion prompt. Okay.